She's sitting across from him, anniversary dinner. 10 years. The restaurant is the same one he proposed in, and she's wearing the same perfume because she thought that would be sweet. He's smiling, telling a story about something that happened at work, and she reaches across the table to squeeze his hand. That's when she notices his jacket hanging on the back of the chair. And she needs the car keys because she left her phone in the glove box. So she reaches into the inside pocket, and her fingers find something that isn't keys. A folded piece of paper, cream-colored. She opens it under the table, 6 words in handwriting she recognizes. Same time, Thursday. Can't wait. M. Okay, let me back up, way up, because to understand why that note destroyed everything, you need to know who these people were. Rachel and James met their sophomore year of college, not some fairy tale meet cute, nothing like that. She was working the late shift at the campus library, half asleep behind the desk, and he walked up at like 11 p.m. asking if they had a book about Norse mythology. She didn't even look up, just pointed toward the back shelves and said, "Third row, bottom shelf, good luck." He came back 20 minutes later with the book and 2 coffees from the vending machine. Set one on her desk, said, "For the late shift," and walked away. Didn't even ask her name. She told me she sat there staring at that terrible vending machine coffee for a full minute before she smiled. They were inseparable after that. Got married 2 years out of college in this tiny ceremony at his parents' backyard. 80 people, string lights. Her mom cried through the entire thing. Had their first kid at 26, second at 28. James got promoted twice at the engineering firm. Rachel started her own little Etsy shop selling handmade jewelry, and it actually took off. They bought a house with a blue front door because Rachel had always wanted a blue front door from the outside. This was the couple people envied, the Christmas card family, the ones who still held hands at the grocery store. I mean, even their friends would joke about it. You two make the rest of us look bad. 10 years. 10 years of building something real. Or at least, that's what she thought. Now here's the thing. The cracks didn't start with a bang. They never do, right? It was more like erosion. So subtle you don't even notice the ground shifting under your feet until you're standing on the edge of a cliff. About 8 months before the anniversary, the date nights stopped. It wasn't a decision. Nobody sat down and said, "Hey, let's stop doing this." It just faded. James was working late more. Not every night, but enough, 2, maybe 3 times a week. He'd text around 6, big project. Don't wait up, and Rachel would put the kids to bed, heat up leftovers, and fall asleep on the couch watching something she'd already seen. She told me she didn't think anything of it at first. He was up for a senior position. The hours made sense, but then the little things started piling up. He got a new cologne, not a big deal. People switch cologne. But he'd worn the same one since college, this woody one she bought him every Christmas. And now suddenly it was something citrusy and sharp that she didn't recognize. His phone started living face down on every surface. Always. Even in the bathroom. And he started leaving rooms to take calls. Not in an obvious way. He'd just kind of drift toward the hallway, voice dropping low, and when she asked who it was always just work stuff. And then there was Megan, Rachel's younger sister, 3 years apart, completely different people. Where Rachel was warm and steady, Megan was electric, the kind of person who walked into a room and every head turned. Platinum blonde hair, always dressed like she was about to walk a runway. This magnetic energy that people either loved or found exhausting. They'd always been close, though, not in a talk everyday way, but in a she's my person way. The kind of sisters who could go weeks without talking and then pick up right where they left off. But around the same time, James started working late. Megan started coming around more, stopping by on weeknights, bringing wine, offering to watch the kids so Rachel could take a bath, and Rachel thought it was sweet. She actually told her mom, "Megan's been so great lately. I think she's finally growing up. I know." Looking back, the irony is brutal. Because those Tuesday nights when Megan was keeping Rachel company while James worked late, Megan would leave around 9:15, and James would get home at 9:30. Rachel never connected the timing. Why would she? That was her sister. Back to the note. Anniversary dinner. She's sitting there with this piece of paper in her lap, and the whole restaurant is still moving around her, glasses clinking, someone laughing at the bar. James is still talking something about a client presentation, and she's nodding like everything's fine while her brain is doing that thing where it just disconnects. She folded the note back up, put it in her purse, finished dinner, smiled, kissed him good night, and then she lay in bed for 4 hours staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment of the last 8 months. The next morning, she waited until he left for work. Then she went to the phone bill. They had a joint account, shared plan, and she'd never once looked at the detailed call log. Hundreds of calls to one number. Some lasting 5 minutes, some lasting an hour and a half, going back months. They were concentrated on Tuesdays and Thursdays, his late nights. She almost called the number right then, but something stopped her, some instinct. Because the initial on the note was M, and she only knew one M, but she couldn't go there. Not yet, not without being sure. So she did something that surprised even her. She started a spreadsheet: dates, times, call durations, matched them against James's working late texts, against Megan's visits, against everything she could verify. She told me it was the only thing keeping her sane, turning the chaos into data, making the betrayal into something she could organize. 2 weeks. She investigated for 2 full weeks, and during those 2 weeks, she was the best actress you've ever seen, making lunches, helping with homework, kissing James goodbye in the morning, texting Megan back like nothing was wrong. But behind all of it, she was building a case. She drove past his office on a Tuesday night. His car wasn't there. She checked his gym log, the one on the family iPad. He hadn't checked in since March. And then, on a Thursday afternoon, she did the thing she'd been avoiding. She picked up a burner phone from Walgreens, drove to a parking lot, sat there for 20 minutes with her finger hovering over the call button, and she dialed the number from the phone bill. It rang 3 times. And then she heard her sister's voice. "Hey, you? I wasn't expecting to hear from you until tonight." The way she said it, that tone, warm, excited, familiar, like she was expecting someone she'd been talking to for months. Rachel hung up, sat in that parking lot for 45 minutes. She said she didn't cry. Not yet. She was too angry for that. The anger was this cold, clear, crystalline thing sitting in the center of her chest. Her husband and her sister. Her person. And all she could think was, how long? How long have I been the punchline to a joke I didn't know existed? Here's what most people would do at this point: confront, scream, throw things, and honestly, nobody would blame her. But Rachel didn't do any of that. She called a divorce lawyer that Monday, 9 a.m., first appointment of the day, sat in his office for an hour and a half, calm as anything, with a folder. A physical folder she'd put together over the weekend. Call logs, timestamps, screenshots of James's location sharing that she'd been quietly monitoring. The lawyer told her later he'd never seen someone walk in that prepared. She filed everything quietly, got her financials in order, opened a separate bank account, and for the next 2 weeks, she kept playing the part. I mean, think about that. She's sitting at Sunday dinner with James and Megan, passing the salad. Her sister is telling some story about her coworker, doing that thing where she laughs at her own jokes. And James is laughing too, and Rachel is sitting there knowing. Watching the two of them exchange a look across the table that they think she doesn't see. She said the hardest part wasn't the anger, it was the humiliation. Realizing that every time the three of them were together, she was the only one who didn't know every inside joke. James mentioned that. Every time Megan touched his arm a little too long, and Rachel told herself she was imagining it. She wasn't imagining it. She was just the last to know. Now the dinner. This is the part everyone asks about. Rachel planned it for 3 weeks. She called James, told him she wanted to take him to that new Italian place downtown, the one they'd been talking about for months. Friday night. He said, sure, sounded happy about it, and then she called Megan, same restaurant, same time. But she told Megan it was a girls' night. Let's get dressed up, it's been forever since we've done something fun. Friday night. Rachel gets there early. She's sitting at a table for three, not two. Three. She ordered a glass of wine and she waited. James walked in first. She watched him scan the room, spot her, smile that easy smile. He was halfway to the table when the door opened behind him, and Megan walked in. Rachel said she saw the exact moment they noticed each other. James froze, like physically froze mid-step, and Megan, she actually took a step backward, like she was going to turn around and leave. But Rachel just smiled, raised her wine glass. Over here. I saved you both a seat. She said the next 30 seconds were the most satisfying of her entire life. Watching them try to figure it out. Watching the lies form and fall apart in real time on their faces. James sat down. Megan sat down. Nobody spoke. And then Rachel reached into her purse and pulled out the note, placed it on the table between them. Same time Thursday. Can't wait. M. She looked at Megan. I know what the M stands for. Then she looked at James. And I know what the Thursdays were for. She said. Megan started crying immediately. That gasping, ugly kind of crying. But James, he just stared at the note. Didn't look up, didn't say a word, and Rachel said that was somehow worse, because he didn't even try to deny it. The fallout was fast. Rachel stood up from that table, left $40 for the wine she'd ordered, and walked out without looking back. She told me the drive home was the first time she cried, not because of James. Not because of Megan, but because of the life she'd imagined. The one that was never real. The divorce was finalized in 4 months, which, if you know anything about divorce, is fast. And it was fast because Rachel had done all the work beforehand. The spreadsheets, the lawyer, the financial separation. By the time James got served, the hard part was already done. She got the house. Full custody with generous visitation because, and this is the part that gets me, she told her lawyer, he's a terrible husband, but he's a decent father. The kids shouldn't lose that. Even in the worst moment of her life, she was thinking about them first. James moved into an apartment across town. The engineering firm found out about the affair, and while they didn't fire him, the promotion he'd been up for quietly went to someone else. His reputation took a hit. People talk, especially when the story is that good. And Megan, that's the part that really destroyed the family. Rachel's parents sided with Rachel immediately. Completely, her mom told Megan she wasn't welcome at Thanksgiving. Her dad didn't speak to Megan for 6 months. Megan tried calling Rachel dozens of times. Texts, voicemails. Showed up at the house once and Rachel opened the door, looked at her and said 5 words. I don't have a sister, and closed the door. Megan moved to Denver 3 months later. As far as Rachel knows, she's still there. I talked to Rachel about a year after everything happened. She'd repainted the bedroom, new kitchen, ripped out the carpet, and put in hardwood floors. She said it was important that the house felt like hers, not theirs. The kids were doing okay, adjusting. Her oldest asked once if Mom and Aunt Megan were still fighting, and Rachel just said, sometimes grown-ups need space, which is the most generous way I've ever heard anyone describe what Megan did. She went on a date last month, first one in over a year, said it was awkward and weird and wonderful, and she spent the whole drive home smiling. I asked her if she regretted the way she handled it. The dinner, the trap, the lawyer before the confrontation. And she thought about it for a long time. Then she said, I don't regret the dinner. I needed them to see my face when they realized I knew. I needed that. But the note? I'm glad I found it, because I would have spent the rest of my life loving someone who was performing. And I'd rather have the truth and start over than have the lie and stay comfortable. Sometimes the note you find isn't the end of your story. It's just the end of a story someone else was writing for you. The real one? That starts the day you decide to pick up the pen yourself.